Hey, you got a couple minutes? Because if you do, come check this out. Acer just made the most interesting hinge I've seen on any gaming laptop ever? Okay, so here's the Predator Helios 18, and while we didn't have a ton of time to check it out, I do want to show you a closer look at this hinge because just stare at it. It just looks incredible. So if you'll notice, they kind of did one of those mirror situations so that if you look into it, it reflects and it just goes on forever. Now I asked Acer if they had a special name for this hinge and they said no. So for the time being, I'm just gonna call this the Infinity Hinge, and it looks absolutely awesome. Now, as you'd expect, it has full RGB capability, so you can set its colors or patterns to basically whatever you want. But as you can see on the back, it also has a bunch of ports. There's a full HDMI and 2 USB-C ports, so that's really awesome. And you also get a whole bunch of extra ports on its sides as well, including a full-size Ethernet jack, more USB Type-A ports, a micro SD card slot, and a 3.5mm jack. And then on the other side, you get 2 more USB-A ports in case you need to connect some extra peripherals. Of course, as you'd expect from one of Acer's more premium flagship gaming laptops, it has some pretty serious performance. We're talking one of Intel's 14th gen Raptor Lake Refresh Core Ultra 9 processors and up to an RTX 4090 GPU. And that includes its smaller sibling, which we didn't get to see, which is gonna be the Predator Helios 16, which supports basically all the same specs, but in an obviously slightly smaller body. Now, one other thing that's really cool about the Helios 18 is that if you look at the keyboard, you notice that the WASD keys are just a tiny bit different, and there's a good reason for that. Acer says that not only can you remove the keycaps, and there will be replaceable keycaps that come included with the laptop, you can also replace the switches underneath with mechanical switches, including a set for both linear and tactile switches. So by default, you're gonna get rubber dome switches, but you can switch it out with the included switches that come in the box for both linear and tactile sets. And that's really cool. The one bad thing is because we were taking a look at engineering samples, I couldn't actually remove the keycaps myself, but Acer promises me that will be available on the final production units. Now, I kind of wish they included that option for the whole keyboard instead of just the WASD keys, but hey, I'll take what I can get. That said, if you're a big FPS gamer, you might actually get some value out of those switches when you're playing something like Counter-Strike. Regardless, even though they are some of Acer's more high-powered machines, prices are still looking pretty good, with the 16-inch model starting at $1,899 and then the 18-inch model starting at $2,000. And both of those should be available pretty soon because they're scheduled to be on sale sometime in January. Of course, if the standard Helios line is a bit too pricey for your budget, there will also be slightly more affordable Neo versions of the same system. We're talking about the Predator Helios 16 Neo and the Predator Helios 18 Neo. And as you can kind of see from the 16-inch model that we checked out, the designs are pretty much the same, although they have cut down a couple corners, obviously to fit that budget. That said, you're still getting up to 175 watts of graphics power for both, although the GPU is capped with an RTX 4070. So that's where that big difference is. Remember, you're talking up to a 4090 on the non-Neo editions. That said, Acer has still included its 5th gen Aeroblade fans to help keep temps under control, and you also get that liquid metal thermal material inside instead of your old traditional paste, which should help alleviate any kind of bottlenecking or thermal congestion just a little bit better. So when it comes to price savings, we're talking for the 16-inch model, prices are gonna start at around $1499, and then about $1899 for the 18-inch model. So if you're in the market for a slightly larger gaming laptop later this year, Acer has you pretty well covered between the standard Predator Helios 16 and 18 and the slightly more affordable Neo 16 and 18, which should be available pretty soon. That's it for right now, and that's just a quick look at some of the new gaming stuff that Acer has in store for later this year. But for more from everything at CES, check into Engadget.com and then come back to us on YouTube for more news and hands-ons.